6 is where we started. Introduction to money laundering. Some of this will repeat what we've already done, but as I say, it's a requirement for us to do that with you. The process criminals use to clean the money they make from crimes such as fraud, dealing in illegal drugs and tax evasion. So we all know what money laundering is. Middle of the page, money laundering is happening every day across New Zealand. According to New Zealand Police Financial Intelligence Unit, there is reportedly about 1.35 billion of funds from fraud and illegal drugs laundered through legitimate businesses within New Zealand every year. Many around the world view New Zealand as a safe country. However, criminals view New Zealand as a soft option to launder money and do so. So in previous years, as we know, we have been the soft option for many people around the world to launder money through because of the fact that we haven't had these laws and these requirements in place, but also with the overseas investment, you know. So there's been some significant changes in New Zealand law, as we know, that has made it a lot harder to launder money in New Zealand, which is good. So targeting businesses or professions that don't confirm customer IDs or don't have the right checks and balances in place to detect suspicious transactions. So criminals know who needs to comply and who doesn't, who's soft and who doesn't, and they target those businesses. Any real estate companies that are not complying with AML around New Zealand will be very quickly become known and they will be targeted. So they will get in trouble real quick because the criminals know who they are and they will actually, you know, specifically, good morning, specifically target them. I know there's a couple of small boutique companies that are not on it at all, and they'll get in real trouble, they'll get big fines, but also they'll get targeted by the criminals because it's pretty well known who's not actually complying at this stage. Page 7, guys, just a note at the bottom. At the time of writing, there were no examples of money laundering within the real estate sector in New Zealand. However, 2 examples involving financial institutions provide insight into how money laundering is actioned, utilising the 3-stage process. So that is the placement, layering and integration, which is basically how they launder the money. So if we click over, we're not going to go over these because they're banking and financial institution examples of money laundering. Obviously now with the reporting in place, I think in the next few years we'll start to see examples of real estate laundering. But there are plenty. You know, at the end of the day, it's been an easy option for people to purchase property to clean their money and then on-sell it for profit. So guys, page 9 at the bottom, this is one for an Australian Austrac. This was the Commonwealth Bank of Australia got done in Australia for serious and systematic non-compliance with anti-money laundering. And at the bottom of page 9, in June 2008 it was reported that an out-of-court settlement had been reached and that the CBA had agreed to pay the biggest fine in Australian corporate history of 700 million plus court costs. So there's some pretty massive fines in place for non-compliance. The bank failed to properly monitor transactions. The bank admitted to late filing of suspicious matter reports. They basically admitted to a whole load of breaches. They did not have their compliance in place and they paid a massive price for it. So that's just an example of what can happen. Page 11, guys, is specific to real estate. So according to the DIA, real estate is an attractive option to money launderers because it can be used both in layering and integrating proceeds of crime by re-entering the legitimate economy. And the inherent risk of money laundering and financing of terrorism within the real estate sector is medium to high. So we basically sit in a medium to high industry, if you like, and that is the whole real estate sector. Purchase values of real estate are significantly large, so it provides an option to launder large amounts of money, which is why they like real estate. Numerous bank transfers can be made from overseas accounts, we know that. Once real estate has been bought, it can be used as security for a loan. And once real estate has been bought, it can be resold and the sale proceeds integrated. So there's plenty of ways they can do it. Page 12, guys. The Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Financing of Terrorism Act was passed to tackle the increasing exposure New Zealand is facing with money laundering. We know that. Down to important note, all reporting entities are required to comply with strict monitoring and reporting requirements as set out in the Act. The initial focus, phase 1, was on casinos and other financial institutions, such as the banks and fund managers and debt collectors. Phase 2 was where we were brought in, which is scope of the reporting entities include designated non-financial businesses or professions, which includes real estate. That's obviously, and then, you know, the lawyers, accountants, everyone else. So that is what's happening. Over to page 13. I think this is good that it's in verified training because I think it reinforces the industry of those that haven't been up to speed on it and got a compliance program in place, that actually, you know, they can't escape it. All licensees who work for real estate agents and in the ordinary course of business carry out real estate agency work, which is all of us, and manage client funds in relation are required to comply fully. Just a note on page 13, except for some commercial property activities, property management activities and managing client funds for that purpose are not captured under AML. Right? So property management, residential property management is not captured, which is an important distinction for us because actually you can imagine trying to do the CDD on tenants and landlords would be so hard, but tenants would be really tough if that got captured, you can imagine. Anyway, that's okay. So we were captured on page 14 as from the 1st of January. Lawyers, as we know, was the 1st of July last year. Accountants was the 1st of October. Businesses trading in high value goods is from the 1st of August 2019. So if you want to go and buy a new car or expensive jewellery or art, you're going to find that you're also having to now front with ID from the 1st of August 2019. So that'll be interesting. Our clients complain about it now with real estate, their $1 million transactions. They're actually, you know, they're going to have to front with ID and proof of address and that sort of thing when they go and buy jewellery or cars and that sort of thing. And sports and race betting is August 19 this year too. Okay guys, the staggered approach for phase 2 reporting entities was to ensure that they had time to understand their obligations under the Act. It all happened pretty quickly guys, but we got there. We appointed a compliance officer, developing, maintaining and auditing their risk assessment and compliance program, knowing who their customers are and on whose behalf we act, completing the required level of identity verification, reporting large cash transactions, reporting suspicious activity, and submitting an annual report to the Department of Internal Affairs. So that is what is entailed in us complying. Just a distinction, guys, the role of the Department of Internal Affairs. So page 16. The DIA is who deals with AML. We've got all these acronyms, right? They're just DIA, AML, you know, REA. So reality is, you can't go to REA with a question on AML. If someone has a problem with AML, REA don't care, don't want to know. It doesn't fall under them as far as a government department. The Real Estate Agents Act falls under the Real Estate Agents Authority. The AML Act falls under DIA. So we report to the DIA. If we've got any questions, we go to the DIA and we are audited and our audit reports go to them. Does that make sense? There's quite a distinction because a lot of people, when it first came out, were contacting REA asking questions of these people are complying, that sort of thing. REA don't care. As far as it comes to AML, it all sits under the Department of Internal Affairs. Okay? So it's just quite an important distinction as far as AML. You guys don't need to worry about that. It's who we report to as a business. Okay? But any questions that we have with regards to AML, it's DIA that you directed to. Page 17, guys. So we're just talking about that. The functions of supervisors. The Department of Internal Affairs is tasked with supervising us, and therefore is the supervisor of real estate agents. The functions of supervisors is they must monitor and assess the level of risk of money laundering. They must monitor the reporting entities for compliance, ensure a supervisory program is developed and implemented, and provide guidance to help. So that is what they do. That is their job to supervise us. They are not the only supervisor in AML. There is also the Reserve Bank, for example, supervise the banks with regards to AML. So we deal with the Department of Internal Affairs for real estate, but there are other government departments such as the Reserve Bank of New Zealand who also monitor AML. Right, we're going to go over to the questions on page 19. Circle the answer I give you, because this is what you're going to go online and actually answer. Question 1. The Department of Internal Affairs is responsible for supervising real estate agents as reporting entities to ensure their compliance with statutory obligations under the AML Act. That is true. The DIA is the only supervisory body designated under AML. Now, as we've discussed, that is false, because there is also the Reserve Bank, and there's also the Financial Markets Authority and the other two that monitor AML, so just circle false there, guys. Question 3, the functions of a supervisor are solely to monitor the reporting entities for compliance. That is false. They have a number of functions, of which one of them is to monitor the reporting entities, so just circle false there. Question 4, the supervisor is able to provide guidance to the reporting entities it supervises. That is true. Question 5, the supervisor has the power to investigate reporting entities it supervises and enforce compliance with the regulations. That is true. 6, the AML Act provides supervisors with all the powers necessary to carry out its function. That is true. An AML supervisor at any reasonable time may enter and remain in any place other than a house, a dwelling or a private residence or marae for the purpose of conducting on-site inspection of a reporting entity. That is true. So basically they can turn up at any business at any time and have access to our full records, which allows them to do their job. Hopefully we won't be getting a DIA rating anytime soon, but we could. Right, page 21, guys. Statutory requirements of reporting entities. At least you guys know when we make you do this stuff, there is a reason for our methods. Section 4, overviews, provides for AML requirements and compliance. So there we have provisions dealing with requirements on reporting entities to conduct due diligence on customers. And obviously this sits squarely with you guys as licensees, and we ask you to do this. Prohibits on establishing or continuing business relationships and setting up facilities in certain circumstances. Provisions dealing with requirements on reporting entities to report suspicious activity. Requirements on reporting entities to report certain prescribed transactions. So I'm going to talk to you about the difference between what they are. Requirements on reporting entities to keep records. Reporting entities' internal policies and procedures. A requirement to carry out a risk assessment. A requirement to have a program. requirement to report on the risk assessment and program, and a requirement to appoint a compliance officer. So those all are under control. Note on page 22, guys, a reporting entity is required to undertake a risk assessment, develop an AML program, appoint a compliance officer, report annually on its risk assessment and compliance program, and audit the risk assessment and compliance program every second year. While some of these obligations are carried out at a management level, it is important that all licensees are aware of and understand their obligations as they relate to day-to-day real estate agency work. So a lot of this work you guys don't see. You don't need to see it, you just need to know it's under control. But obviously some of it on that day-to-day stuff that we ask you to do is where you get involved. To give you an idea, Ruth has just undertaken, obviously, Ruth's our AML code, and together with me, we oversee our whole program. We've just undertaken our first sort of quarterly review and internal audit. It's an internal audit, don't panic. Not an external audit, but we will be getting ready for an external audit next year. We didn't do as well as we hoped we would do. But then it's probably going to be our worst internal audit because it was from January when we started, right? So it was when it was all new to us. But we didn't pass, unfortunately, for the first 4 months. So we need to do sort of more looking at that, and I think a lot of that was in that January, February initial startup stage, where people were very resistant to getting the information, asking for the information, and we didn't have enough checks and balances in place. Mangawai, you passed, you were 100%, so well done to Mangawai. But apart from Mangawai, the rest of us did not pass. Most of us were around the 70 or 80%, if that makes sense. But unfortunately, 70 or 80% is not good enough. We actually need to pass the 100%, otherwise we're going to have some problems once we come to audit. So there was some learnings from that, and we need to be a bit better. And I do think, you know, our admin team are now doing a much, a great job in being gatekeepers for that. What we were doing was we were making way too many exceptions early on and saying, oh, let's just get on with it, push it through. We need to go live with the marketing. Let's push that through. The problem was when we were making those exceptions, the agents were then just saying, oh great, we're up and running, let's not worry about it, and not going back and revisit it. So that was where we fell down, was on those exceptions that we've been revisited and actually cleaned up. So we've put some better processes in place now for that. So although we will make exceptions, there's going to be a lot stricter on what and why we will make those exceptions. And we will have better checks in place to make sure we actually go back and actually clean it up. Does that make sense? But that was, Ruth, any comments from you are very welcome, Dale, but that was really the main area we were falling down, wasn't it? So we've gone back and cleaned up a whole load of that stuff, which is great, and hopefully in the next internal audit we have a higher pass rate, basically. So anyway, that's where we're up to. Page 24, guys. The AML Program and Compliance Officer. So every reporting entity must have an AML program, obviously we do, and every reporting entity must have a compliance officer, obviously we do. So poor old Ruth and myself are tasked with that, and we get on and do our job. Turn over to page 25. Just quickly on that note there, the AML program must be in writing, based on a risk assessment previously undertaken, include adequate and effective procedures, policies and controls for vetting certain personnel, including senior managers. So guys, we now have a requirement under AML to vet, and as part of, if we're all licensed, we get vetted every year anyway when we renew our licenses. So we're sort of covered, or you guys are covered, because we all get vetted under REA each year upon relicensing, which is great. But anyone who's not licensed, we now need to just run them through that info check, info log check, and do a bit more reporting and vetting of people that we employ, just to make sure we're not, employing someone that I guess has convictions or something that would not sit, well within real estate. We have an obligation to train all who are engaged in the AML activities. Guess what? We're doing that. We're complying with customer due diligence requirements. Obviously, that's the big one and a big part of the daily operation of real estate when we list property. Reporting requirements of suspicious activity in prescribed transaction and record keeping requirements. So page 26, guys, is really what does this mean for licensees. Every licensee must know and understand the AML program and the role they play in ensuring their agency is operating in accordance with the program and the Act. And every licensee must know who their compliance officer is, what their role is and why it is important and how to contact them. Every agent should check with their insurer that they have sufficient professional indemnity cover for protection against AML. Every agent, guys, that's us, and you know that we insure all of you. So we have a robust and incredibly expensive, you can imagine the cost of professional indemnity insurance in the last few years has just gone through the roof. It's eye-watering, the bills we pay on that each year, but we have no choice but to keep us all insured so that if shit hits the fan, you know that you are protected. As you guys know, we have an excess on that. The excess in old times used to be 5,000, it's now gone to 10,000, that's standard across the industry, it's not just us. So we have an excess of 10,000 because really they don't care about the little stuff. They don't need to get involved in a $500 fine from the REA. Really our insurers are there if something goes wrong in a bigger scale. So basically the excess is 10, which covers legal fees, and then the insurers take care of the rest. You guys know that it's Ruth and myself, although your administrators and your managers are well trained on AML, so any questions, as you know, first and foremost management and then to Ruth and I. So skip over, guys, to page 28. We'll just quickly auditing. I talked about an internal audit, just wanted to update you on how that went. Hopefully I'll have better news the next time we do an internal audit, we'll do a bit better. And obviously annual reporting. So Ruth and I are getting ready to do our first annual report, which is due, the entire industry has to file a report, and quite a significant, substantial report, Ruth, isn't it, with the DIA by the 31st of August. So Ruth and I tomorrow are actually off to training at REINZ to get prepared to file that report by the end of August. So the important point, I think, guys, is, and this is where boutique agencies must really struggle, or agencies, people, on their own, is you guys need to know that you're protected, that we've got a robust program, that we're compliant, and that you're safe, basically. It's our job to keep you safe in that regard, which we take pretty seriously. So we are doing all of that to make sure that happens. So the bigger agencies, I think, are coping with bigger budgets and being able to actually put proper systems in place to ensure compliance. What's going to be very interesting next year, once they start externally auditing, is how the small agencies go, because from what we hear, they're the ones that are really battling with this and not actually, putting programs in place and actually complying. So page 29, we've got some questions. The risk assessment must be in writing, that is true. The AML program must be in writing, that is true. We have both of those full documents if any of you want to read them, but they are there available and actually are part of a cloud system that we've got. As part of its compliance program, a reporting entity must vet senior managers, compliance officers and all staff that are engaged in AML-related activity. That is true. The key issue to remember regarding record keeping is the ability to reconstruct the transaction after the fact and to provide your rationale. that is true. Just a quick note on that. We've got what we call, and the managers have access to, what we call an exceptions register, right? So when you guys ask us to make an exception, and please get this live, I'm missing one document, we have an exceptions register that it must be recorded on. And at the end of the day, there are things called open exceptions, which is, hey, they're out of the country, they'll be back next week, you know, and we'll get the document we need. Or they haven't provided it to us, they promised they will in the next week or two. Those are exceptions we don't want to make. They're what we call open exceptions. If we have to, we can, but we've learned through our audit that actually making too many exceptions leads us into trouble. So the closed exceptions are where we say, look, we're making an exception based on a risk profile and it's closed. And the classic example of that is you've got Nana in the home with dementia and her son is acting as power of attorney and we can't ID Nana, right? Because actually she's in a home, she's got dementia and we've got a medical certificate. So that is what we call a closed exception. And that is us making an exception outside of normal practice, but documenting why we've made it, what we've been provided, a medical certificate, why we've made that, and then we can make a risk assessment saying, right, we've made a closed exception on that. The only people that can make those are Ruth or I. Does that make sense? So we've had a couple that have been outstanding where we have very nearly filed suspicious activity reports because people are refusing to give us information. So reality is, if it goes too long and the exception can't be closed and there's no valid reason for us to close it, except that they're being difficult, we will file a suspicious activity report with the DAA on that person. Does that make sense? We have no choice, that is the law. And we've come close to it a couple of times through, haven't we? Because people are just pissed off and don't want to provide us stuff. Well, they also don't want to have a suspicious activity report filed against them either, do they? And that is by law what we have to do if they don't provide us information.
But do we carry on with the listing or not?
Yeah, we do, but we file, we have to file. So,
do they know you filed?
No, we can't tell them.
Can you tell them of the risk of that happening?
Yep. Yep, you can say that law says this is what we have to do, but we can't tell them because there's a requirements under filing that they must remain confidential. So we have talked to, I've picked up the phone a couple of times and talked to agents and said, we are about to file on this person. And they've said, no, hold on, okay, right. You know, and magically the information appeared. Right, so understand that is the process. So I want you guys to know, if we're compliant, that's what we have to do. And we want to be compliant. We want to pass an audit, right? We don't want to be earmarked by the DAA as an underperformer in this regard. We don't want that tag. What DAA will do, just so you know as well, when they audit us, they will look at our most difficult cases. So they will immediately go to trusts, because they're by far the most difficult, and they will audit a few trusts, and if we pass those, they're unlikely to do a lot more. If we fail those, then it's all on. Does that make sense? So just be aware of that. When we're tough on the trust, we don't want to make exceptions on our tough stuff, because actually, that's what's going to be audited.
Kirsty, how does that work with private sales? Or if you're selling your own home, do you...
They don't have an obligation.
So they're at more risk of someone coming through?
Correct, but I mean, the lawyers will have to do the required AML.
So someone will do it?
Someone will do it at the legal stage, but reality is that they don't have the real estate agent doing it and they had a crooked lawyer, they can, you know, or a lawyer who was slack on compliance, because there are some lawyers that are actually slack on compliance, just like there's real estate agents slack on it. If they will get caught, they will get in big trouble. But yeah, no, you're right. Private sales, ultimately, it's the agency industry that has to reply. It's like the Fair Trading Act. the Fair Trading Act applies to us because we're in trade. It doesn't apply to private sales because they're not in trade, which is where buyers do not have protection when they go and buy privately. Does that make sense? Okay. That is those questions. Oh, what did I miss? Thank you. What number did I miss? 12. Reporting entities are required to engage an auditor and ensure an audit of their risk assessment program is conducted annually. That is actually false. The external audit is every 2 years. So false on that one, guys. They're throwing you a curveball on that one. Now, just so you know, a little bit of confusion. You know how we're so used to, under REA, we've got a customer and a client. And we know that our client is our vendor and our customer is our buyer 99% of the time. The confusing thing with the law, with the AML Act, they actually term a customer as our vendor. So we must, I know it's a pain in the neck, so just be aware of it if you're reading anything and they talk about customers. Actually under AML, a customer is the vendor, and that is who we must do our CDD on. So there's a little bit of confusion, which is where the whole industry was like, well, who the heck are we supposed to do CDD on? You know? And it's very clear now it is the vendor, but then under the law that is a customer. Okay? So just be aware of the different terminology. It doesn't really matter from your guys' perspective. But our customer is basically, in AML world, is the person we sign an agency agreement with. So the only time a buyer becomes a customer is if we sign a buyer's agency agreement, which we do very rarely. But I have seen a couple. If buyers have specifically asked us to act for them and want us to pay us a commission, commercial, it happens. Land stuff, it can happen, offshore, it can happen. So just be aware that if we signed a buyer's agency agreement, we would need to do CDD on that buyer. But 9 times out of 10, it's obviously the vendor is who we're signing the agency agreement with. So this, the bottom of page 31, guys. The customer that CDD must be carried out on is the party you are entering an agency agreement with. The customer will generally be the vendor, but CDD is also required on a buyer when an SAR is filed on a buyer. So if we file an SAR on a buyer, we're also going to attempt, I mean obviously we're filing, we might be filing because they haven't done the CDD, so that's going to be difficult. But if we file an SAR, we need to try and ID that person.
So, Christy, can I just ask, if an SAR is filed on a buyer somewhere, does that actually alert to other agencies? So
No.
otherwise, right?
No, it's up to the DIA what they do with that information. We only have to file. At the end of the day, the filing part is the important part. Where that information goes once the DIA have it is their decision on what they choose to investigate or not. And they will make a risk assessment on it. So $10,000 or more in cash is deposited into the agency's trust account. So the whole cash thing, guys, this is why we don't take personal checks, because personal checks, we would need to, strictly speaking, do CDD on that buyer, get the IDs and stuff. If it comes from the bank need to have done that process and we can just take the funds. So that's why we now, if someone's trying to give you a personal check, say, thank you so much, please could you take that to the bank and get them to turn that into a bank check for you, and then we can take the bank check or we take it as a electronic transfer into our account. So as long as we've received it from the bank, we're okay to receive it. We cannot take folded, and our policy is not to take cash in any way, shape or form. Okay? But strictly speaking, if we did get cash, if it was over 10,000, we must file an SAR at that point. So that's why we don't want it, because actually, why do they need to give us cash? Go to the bank, give the bank your cash, then give it, the bank can give us the money. A deposit is refunded. That is why we're really strict now on you guys on refunding deposits on deals that have fallen. One of the classic ways that people money launder, and I hadn't realised until recent years, is they sign a sale and purchase agreement. They do pay the deposit, and you say, oh, well, you can pay that on unconditional. No, I'll pay the deposit now, that's fine. So they want to pay their deposit upon signing the agreement. The money goes into our trust account, and they have no intention of ever going ahead with that deal. The deal is conditional on whatever it's conditional on. It falls over, they then get their money back, they then get that, they want that transferred into a different account, and all of a sudden, they have laundered that money, as you can see, through our trust account. So, we need to refund deposits to the solicitors, so the solicitors are ensuring, or if we are refunding the deposit, we need the ID of that purchase, of that vendor, which we probably already have as part of our CDD. But the purchaser, we need their ID, and we need to, a copy, Joe's now asking for a copy of their bank slip with a clear indication of name, so we make sure, and permission from their lawyer. So there's a lot more to go through to get the money sent directly to back to the buyer. So really, best practice is to send it back to the solicitor, and then we're not having to go through those steps. But we have done a couple where the lawyers specifically said, please send it to the purchaser, here is their ID, here is their bank deposit slip, and I give permission. Does that make sense?
Is it more prudent now to actually put the deposit payable on becoming unconditional rather than on?
It's your call at the end of the day, but most of them we're seeing these days, because of all of this, is it's upon unconditional. The old days of doing the deposit upon signing to show intent, some vendors, old school vendors, will still want that, but ultimately it doesn't make a lot of difference to the deal, you know, whether it's sitting in our trust account or not. The other thing to be aware of is if people are trying to make bigger deposits, or they're trying to do, you know, I mean, sometimes the deal works that you do a 20% deposit, but it's unusual, you know, and if people are wanting to do that, then you need to be alerted to that that is a red flag now in money laundering.
Change the sort of standard.
Yeah, the tender, what people have been, yeah, correct. At the end of the day, what a number have been doing is putting the cheque but not banking it, so you can give it straight back to them. So that would be okay. If it's going into our trust account, then we need to make sure that the funds, when they go back, are going to the standard. Yeah, what we've done, like in a couple, I know we did one where we put them into the solicitor's trust account, so that the vendor, we asked the vendor what they wanted. They said, no, we do want the deposits for any tenders, but our solicitor will hold them. Does that make sense? So we made a change that way. So do be aware on your tenders that you might want to change your wording on deposit for that reason. But it's up to the vendor. And we just asked the vendor what they wanted, and they said, no, actually we do want deposits paid upon signing, but we'll take, our solicitor can take them.
So what about the multi-office who's normally often getting the increased deposit checks over by 10% of your convention?
Yeah, but we're not banking them unless we've got a sale and purchase agreement, so it's fine. You can have the cheque attached, or you can have it on there, but it's once we bank it.
So there's no stage for a given increased deposit, we don't need to do anything, take any action.
No, you don't need to take any action on that. That's fine, that's standard, trying to increase the look of my deal or whatever, you know, increase my intention, but yeah, no, once we bank it, it's when it becomes in our trust account, is when we're actually now, you know. And I've told you that example before, guys, where from offshore we received $1 million into the trust account for a purchase of $1 million. And So the buyer just transferred everything into our trust account instead of to their solicitor. And then when we go, no, we can't take this money, we don't want this money, just transfer it to my solicitor. Actually, no. Now under AML, we would not be able to do that. We would have to get exactly where that money came from and send it all back. The other thing is now prescribe anything that comes from offshore over 10,000 into our trust account. There is something called a PTR, and a prescribed transaction report, where is it? It's here somewhere. And anyway, I'll talk about it. A PTR is when we receive money from offshore of more than 1,000. So anything more than 1,000 comes into our accounts now. It doesn't mean we file an SAR, which is actually we think something suspicious. It's called a PTR. And a PTR, prescribed transaction report, is just something that we do online, that we just say, hey, we've received funds from offshore, over 1,000. It's not a big deal. It's then tracking the flow of money in and out of New Zealand. Obviously, really relevant for banks. They must do these, hundreds of these, millions of them, yearly. But for us, we now have a setup with our bank that if we receive funds from offshore, I get an email from the bank, so I know about it. Because of course it's really hard to tell on the bank statement where it's come from. We can't tell it's from offshore. So don't stress about it. We've got the bank now emailing Ruth and I to tell us if the money's come from offshore. Because we can't tell, just because a purchase is from offshore doesn't mean the money's coming from offshore. We've had a number where the money actually comes from their lawyer or comes from their New Zealand bank account, and that's fine. We don't need to do anything with that, but if it comes directly to us from an offshore account, then we must do what we call a PTR. Yep, over 1,000, yeah, the reality is the bank will email us and let us know. Okay?
That apply to funds coming in for marketing?
Yes, correct, it does. If it's over $1,000 by law, we now need to do a PTR. So it's unusual these days. A lot of people either have money sitting with their lawyer or sitting in a New Zealand bank account. Because of course we're now can't sell to overseas people that aren't residents. Most residents actually have New Zealand bank accounts even if they live offshore. But yeah, the best thing to do if they have a New Zealand bank account is get them to send it to their New Zealand bank account. The bank will do what they need to do and then it comes to us.
Can you see this on page 56?
56, there you go. So we can skip over that.
56.
So just quickly on the bottom of page 33, guys, just quickly a note, you must complete CDD on the beneficial owner of a client or a person acting on behalf of a client. So as we know from a company perspective, that is someone who owns more than 25% of the company that is your client. So when we're doing company CDD, that is part of the challenge, is finding, especially for the commercial girls and boys, who is the actual beneficial owner. And a beneficial owner is anyone who holds 25% or more of the company. Okay? And also a person acting on behalf of a client. So in the company space, that would be a CEO of a company, whether they're a beneficial owner or not. So someone says, well, I'm the CEO or I'm the managing director. I have the right to sign the agency agreement. That's great, but they might not be an owner, but they do need to do CDD on them as well. Okay. Now, page 34, just quickly, just a quick note, CDD must be carried out on an existing customer if there has been a material change in the nature or purpose of the business relationship and you have insufficient information about that customer. Where a material change happens is for example, you list something and it's going through marital split, or there's one name on the title and then you know that there's a change, or it's been put into a trust, or any of those sorts of changes where all of a sudden there's an extra person you're dealing with, or there's one less person you're dealing with. There's changes during an agency, and if agencies go on for a while, there can be changes. A deceased estate, where your executors, you're dealing with one executor and all of a sudden you realise there's actually on the title there's 2 executors and you're only dealing with one. Does that make sense? Those are sort of material changes we're talking about. Often you see them in subdivisions where change of ownership or change of structure, change of company structure would be considered a material change. That's the sort of stuff where you need to re-look at your CDD and make sure you've got the right stuff. Yep.
If someone dies while you've got a listing, she's ill.
Yeah, that is a material change, yeah. Yeah, then you've got to do, all of a sudden you're reporting to someone new. Yeah, right, so you're reporting to the daughter, all of a sudden it's taken over. Then you need to do CDD on her, and then you need to talk to the solicitor to see who is actually the executor. Because just because they're a beneficiary doesn't mean they have authority to make decisions on the estate. Beneficiaries are beneficiaries. Executors are the ones that have the legal authority to make decisions. And you've got to be really careful on those estates that you're dealing with beneficiaries. You actually need to be dealing with executors. And the CDD is done on the executors, and the signing authority is the executors. And if it's not on the title yet because she's just died, then you need to immediately talk to the lawyer and ensure that you are dealing with the executors, because the lawyers will know who the executors are.
So should we ask for a copy of the will?
No, the lawyer, it's enough to have the conversation with the lawyer. But if you can't have a conversation with the lawyer, then yeah, you would need proof that you're basically, the lawyer's the one giving you proof that you're dealing with the executor. Does that make sense?
If all the new power of attorney documentation has changed, it used to be about 1 page. It's about that thick now, so that has a line for the AML coming through my phone, and I can't believe.
Yeah,
We've got to go to another lawyer to certify.
yeah. There's no question power of attorneys now are a lot more complex because you're basically giving someone the power to act for you. But of course you can imagine you've tightened that all up, because that would be a way that, again, they can, oh no, well I've got a power of attorney, therefore I'm acting. You don't need to worry about these other people. Actually, we do, Yeah, so there's different ways they do it, but it can be complex.
Kirsty, would a change in someone's career be very material? Meaning
Not
someone you
unless
knew...
you felt that it was, that you were suspicious. Not unless you red flagged it for some reason. So a red flag scenario, guys, is when you think, oh, hold on, this isn't normal business, actually something's weird here. And then you come and talk to Ruth and I quietly, and you say, look, this has happened. We think that, it's not quite right. We make a call, and then if we red flag them, then we would be, going back and using me as the baddie to say, look, I've been asked to redo the customer due diligence. I'm sorry, can you please provide me with boom, boom, boom. Okay? So, page 35 at the top, we talk about an occasional transaction. When you sell a house for a real estate agent client who signs an agency agreement with you, you must comply with the requirements of the Act in relation to that client. In addition, if the purchaser of the house pays you funds, whether as a deposit or a settlement payment of $10,000 or more in physical cash, you must also comply with the Act in relation to the purchaser. So that comes under that. You hear that occasional transaction. That's why they're captured under CDD, because it's considered a that. So questions on page 36, guys. Question 13. A customer is defined in section 5.1 of the Act, means the client as defined in the section 4 of the Real Estate Agents Act. That's just talking about customer versus client, the terminology that is true. 14, an existing customer means a customer who is in a business relationship prior to the Act applying to the reporting entity. That is true. Customer due diligence is specified under 2 categories: standard customer due diligence and enhanced customer due diligence. Now that is false. There are 3 types of due diligence, not 2. So that's a little trick question. There is standard, which is what we do on individuals and companies. There is enhanced, which is what we do on trusts, because trusts are considered high risk. And there is a 3rd category, which we do come across from time to time, which is called simplified due diligence. Simplified due diligence is what you do if you are dealing with a government agency or someone that a publicly owned company. In a bank, as a case of mortgagee sales are classified under simplified due diligence. Public trust, and I've checked this one because we've had a number, 2 or 3 public trust listings lately. Public trust is captured under simplified due diligence. Okay? So if you've got a public trust, or you've got a bank, or you've got a publicly listed company, which our commercial team might have, they are simplified due diligence, which means that you need to ID the person you are dealing with, and that is all. Can you imagine trying to find the owners of the ANZ? Yep.
Need to make sure they've got authority to act on that.
Correct, and they've got authority to act, yeah. And they will know, they will be able to provide it, they will actually have that information. And 16, a licensee will not be required to undertake CDD on a repeat customer unless you have reasons to doubt the adequacy or veracity of the information previously obtained or their ID has expired. That is true. Rolling over sole agencies is fine. The standard, I guess, best practice is considered 12 months. Okay? 12 months is considered standard. So if you're rolling over an agency, you do not need to redo your CDD unless you're rolling it over and there's been a material change, or it's over 12 months and you need to check IDs are valid, you know, and I think best practice is basically 12 months is when you look at redoing it and making sure we've actually checked it. So we've talked about what's on page 37, which is the levels of customer due diligence. We know standard customer due diligence is what we do for individuals and what we do for companies. And the standard due diligence is where we get the ID and a proof of address, basically. Moving over to simplified due diligence on page 40. Now, council is the other one, guys. At the top of page 40, a local council. So if you've got a council listed, council is simplified due diligence. State-owned enterprise or a publicly listed company. So there are those examples there of them simplified. Your managers will be able to tell you if you need simplified or not. Oh yeah, New Zealand Police. Crown Entity Registered Banks, all listed there on page 40 for simplified. So don't panic if you've got a mortgagee, because it won't be too hard to do that due diligence. Page 42, enhanced customer due diligence. This is the one we struggle with, and this is the one that is most important, because enhanced trusts are considered high risk. Across New Zealand, it is it's not our choice to put them as high risk. It is the Department of Internal Affairs, and that is basically all trusts in New Zealand, and that means that we need to do enhanced due diligence, which we know there's a couple of extra steps. We need a copy of the trust deed, and we need the source of wealth. Okay, and so those are the 2 extra requirements. And you can see page 42 talks about the ID and verification requirements, and obviously the source of wealth. We know we're getting better at that. I must say we are getting better. I found changing the wording of that whole source of wealth, it's kind of offensive, and we've talked about this before, right? It's changing your wording on this. And I think Ruth and I took away from our REI and training we did, it is where did you get the funds to purchase the property? Does that make sense? And if you change your wording and not use that whole source of wealth wording, you're not asking them really what their source of wealth is. We're asking them, where did they get the funds when the trust purchased the property? Because in that case, it can often be from a sale of another property, or from an inheritance, or from whatever, and that is what we're looking for, is actually the flow of the money. We're not asking them for their full picture of their financial, and that actually does seem to be helping get to the bottom of that. So page 45. Yeah.
You're asking them how they purchase that property that you're going to sell.
That's it. Yeah, it's just a change in the way of thinking. It's effectively achieves the same thing. We need that information, but people tend to, when you specifically make it about the property, we seem to be having better luck in getting the information we require. Does that make sense? It has to be able to be independently verified. So it cannot just be a story from a vendor unless the information they give you can be independently verified. So a classic example is going on and checking that they purchased this property by selling this property in 1997 for $500,000 in mortgage, right? So that is, you can check that information.
Will you simply be okay?
Yep. Yep. From that old, yeah. But it's publicly, that information you can go on and see the sale history, and then you can print that, and it shows their names, selling that property verifies that information. The other thing is that it's from their job at XYZ or a business they own, and you can verify that they own that business by going in through the company's office or going onto their website and they're the proprietors of that business. And that you print off, and that's you independently verifying that information. Does that make sense? So we can't just take the vendor's word, we need to somehow print out something to show that we have independently verified it.
Is a website so if they share false information?
Well, it says that the proprietors with the name, and then if you went on the company's website, it will show them as the shareholders.
So the company's office?
The company's office is the best place. If we had, the reason companies only standard due diligence is because we have a public register of companies. You guys can look up who are the shareholders of every single company in New Zealand. Now, if we had that for trusts, then it would be different, but we don't. That's why they're enhanced due diligence. Does that make sense? So the company's office is the best, often a really good place. If they own a business, then print out from the company's office that they own that business. And when we do company due diligence, we immediately, the first thing we do is print out the company's register, print out for that company, which shows who are the shareholders and who are the directors.
Not auditing the form of income from that company.
No, we're not, because companies don't come in under enhanced due diligence, so no, we don't need to provide that to companies, but we do need to print out their public information. Does that make sense? Right, questions, page 45. The AML Act requires all reporting entities to undertake customer due diligence. It is true. 18, there are 4 categories of customer due diligence. It is false, there are 3. We've talked about what those 3 are. Simplified customer due diligence applies primarily to state sector, government departments, etc. That is true, and we've talked about when that is applied. In 20, when a reporting entity's customer is a trust, whether a discretionary trust or a charitable trust, an enhanced customer due diligence must be undertaken. That is true. And, no, we can skip over exams rules or CDD. We know what those are. Enhanced, simplified, we've got all of this in all of our forms, and you guys are doing a pretty good job. What are we now? July. We're doing a lot better than we were in January. Let's go half followers, right?
No.
So in January we were doing so well, and in July we're doing better. Is that fair, Ruth? You only stress Ruth out half the time. You've got 100% of the time. Page 53, reporting obligations. And this is where we talked about those suspicious activity reports and the prescribed transaction report and what the difference is, okay? We're just going to I'll talk to you about prescribed transaction reports, but I want to talk to you quickly about suspicious activity reports so you know what they are. They're SARS, what we say ARS. Okay, we have to file these if we have reasonable grounds to suspect that a transaction or proposed transaction may be relevant to investigation of money laundering or breaches of law. So if we think something's not right, then we must file an SAR. The important thing with an SAR is as soon as we are suspicious, we have 3 working days to file. There is a time limit. And it's really important because if it was something significant, we would get in big trouble if we sat on it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks while we thought about it. We cannot think about these things. We have to make a call and file the minute we feel something's not right. So if you think that your vendors are making money from making pee, then you need to immediately tell Ruth and I that something's going on and we need to file it. We just file it and then we forget about it and we carry on. And you do not tell anyone, when nothing will be seen in writing on anyone's desks, and we just move on. That's our job. It's not our job to be the police, but it is our job to report anything that we think is suspicious. Does that make sense? We have 3 working days to do it. So if you think there's something suspicious or you're there with something and you see something suspicious, let us know. That's all we need to do on that really. Key point here on page 55, guys. We just talked about that. It's important to know you must not disclose SAR information or the existence of any SARs to customers. So that question we had earlier, can you tell your client that they're going to get something filed on them if they don't provide this? No, you can't. That's the problem. You can't, because it's important. If we're alerting them that we're going to report them, then we're, all we're doing is, putting people at risk, but also going outside the law as far as confidentiality on that. So to protect the identity of staff and the reporting entities who submit SARs, ensure safety. It also prevents alerting the customer to the possibility of an investigation.
Is there something like a standard text that if we did have a situation, so that we don't put our foot in it,
that you can talk to Ruth and I and we'll help you out with that. Yeah. It's actually best, in this situation, it's best it comes from us. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's best and what happened in the situation where we did call one, we haven't filed any SARs, we are at 0, but we've got very close. And then things have magically come right because we've had a quiet word and said, hey, this isn't good enough, we're not happy with this, how this sits, we need more information, and if it's not provided, we will take further steps.
Because I've got a question with that. We've actually got one in particular with the solicitor who we've requested information like 3 times, and I've used text and she hasn't come back. So then what?
Then you talk to Ruth and I and we make a call. It's not your guys, you don't need to do this. You don't need to be involved in this step. If we choose to take it further, it will sit with us and you don't need to have anything to do with it. So all you need to do is communicate it to us and then let us make a risk assessment. It doesn't sit with you guys. We don't expect you to make these calls. We just want to know about it.
And the easiest thing to do is just quote the law, I think.
Yep.
It's a legal obligation and not given to anything else.
Correct. But we don't expect you to have those conversations. You need to get Ruth and I onto it.
Kirsten, it's worth mentioning as well too, when we do in behind the scenes, when you ID somebody, it goes into our systems and there's an info log check that's done on them as well. So what we're looking for is politically exposed people and persons. And sometimes that will flag up individuals that are on lists to watch. Typically with that, we don't tell you about it. We simply watch that in the background.
We've had a few of those.
Haven't we? The same thing, we're looking here again if there's any suspicious activity in relation to those parties. So it's something that this sales manager group and Kirsten watch to see if there's any suspicious activities and we would flag up with the staff on there.
Correct. So when we do that info log check, if that person has a conviction, it will come up. If they, and we don't care about DAs or whatever, we care about fraud is the main one we look for. So if it comes up with fraud, and we've had 2 or 3 where we've had recent, since January, where the vendor has a previous conviction of some description like that, then we red flag them. And by that, all we do is we let the manager know that we've seen something that you guys won't see it, you don't need to know about it. We've seen something that this person may have an honesty issue, have previous honesty issues, in which case please watch the transaction and make sure nothing funny happens. Does that make sense?
Previously, if the vendor has hidden or not provided truth information in the listing, the instruction has been that we actually walk away.
Yeah, that is not the case in the AML.
So how come if we believe that dodgy, why do we continue to hold the listing?
Well, at the end of the day, that would be a call we would make. We haven't had one. I agree. The difference is, though, what we would choose to do is the right thing versus what we have to do under the law. Okay, under the law, if someone tells us to withhold information on under the REA, then under law we must cease to act. Under the DIA, under the AML Act, that is not the law, we can continue to act. But it's our choice. If we think they're doing something really dodgy, then obviously, we wouldn't be comfortable and we would choose not to. But it wouldn't be a legal requirement, it would be a moral,
Possibly the difference there, John, is that you've got, if you have a current listing where we know someone's being untrustworthy, versus someone in the past having done something untrustworthy and being flagged during the AML process, someone that's committed fraud is still going to have to be able to sell their property, and so it's just a red flag to us to be more cautious about it.
I'm more referring to where they don't provide us the information to the AML.
Yeah.
Then to be fair, that's, I would classify that as being
I see.
and what they're not, then it's probably as dodgy as the information they're provided about the property as well.
I think.
Therefore, to be honest, it should be.
Moving on.
Okay. So, questions, guys. Page 55, question 21. What transaction or activity may trigger the requirement to submit an SAR? Tick all that apply. A, transactions applied. B, services. C, inquiries. D, proposed transactions. E, proposed services. So it's all of those except for E. PTRs we've talked about, that is an international wire transfer in New Zealand over 1,000, or a domestic physical cash folding of over 10,000. Just a key point there, PTR reporting is designed to make it more difficult for criminals to use multiple small transactions, multiple senders and multiple recipients in order to avoid detection. Okay. There's two more questions on 57. A PTR is required if a licensee receives an international wire transfer of over NZ,000 into the trust account. That is true. In 23, if a licensee receives physical cash of less than 10,000, they must report this. That is false. A domestic cash transaction of 10,000 or more must be reported. That is